Um, let's take a look at exporting and production and packaging, and let's get a better understanding as to what that means. Okay, for this particular exercise, many of you guys are still having a hard time understanding what bleed is all about and some very basic production issues. So let's see if we can break it down and see how this whole thing works. All right, now for the most part, there are two font families that are being used. One is called Bank Gothic, which is this font right here, and the other one is going to be Avant-Garde, which is this font down here. Now in this exercise, I've already updated these fonts, so we're not replacing fonts with new fonts. We're updating what's already there. InDesign knows what's missing. It'll tell you if you look up here, where I circle here, it'll tell you what it is. If you don't have it, there'll be brackets there. And also, you have to be concerned with what you see down here at the very bottom where it says errors. Wherever you see a red dot and says errors, all right, then something is wrong. And all you have to do is if you click on that little arrow and you say pre-flight panel, it'll show you. It'll tell you exactly what's wrong. So let's take a look at this and see how we can clean this up. Now, one of the things that I highly recommend is to show your hidden characters. Let's just take a look at this very first paragraph, right? This very first frame right here. And I did this all by design to see if you guys can figure this out. So let's say, for example, what we do is we're going to go up to type, and we're going to drop down to show hidden characters. So when you show hidden characters, you can see exactly what's going on in your document. Now, as you can see, there's a red overset text box right here. And basically, what's overset, if I were to delete that return right there, and then delete another return, and then delete a third return, guess what? Your story should always end with the pound sign, which basically says that this is where the story ends. All right, that's why it's so important to show your hidden characters, because once you've done that, you'll know exactly where your story ends. Your story will end with a pound sign, or as you young people call it, a hashtag. And as you can see, one of the errors have gone away. All right, so that's one. All right, then we see there's other errors here where we see these little question marks above the imagery. Well, basically, all that's saying is that the images are missing. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to the links panel. All right, and once we go over to the links panel, it's going to show us that, hey, there's a whole bunch of images missing. So we click on one. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to, in this case, we can do a right-click thing, and we can say relink. So now once we've done that, we're going to navigate our way to that folder, all right, where those images are. Okay, it says images, and then the image we're looking for is something that says Altus APS-3.jpg. Okay, here it is right here. I click on this, I say open, and then what's going to happen is InDesign is going to notice that there are more images in that same folder that are missing, so it's going to automatically update it. So now all we have is one more error left. Okay, so let's see what that could possibly be. All right, so now as I scroll around, scroll down, I don't see it here optically, but then again, there it is right there. There's an overset. Let's say I see it right here. There's an overset text. I'm going to click here, go to the pre-flight panel, and there's that one error, overset text on panel number 5. There it is. So once again, double click on the return, because even though it is a hidden character, it is a character nonetheless, which means that you've got to get rid of it, because guess what? The pound sign has to end at the story. And look, now we have a green bullet, no more errors. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the pages themselves. Now we know we need to include what is called bleeds. This document right now has no bleeds. So the very first thing you want to do is go up to File, drop down to Document Setup. All right, and then you're going to say, where it says bleeds and slugs, you're going to put in 1/8 of an inch, which is basically P9. All right, and if you're not sure what that is, you can type in 1/8 IN, and guess what? It's going to automatically make the conversion. We say OK. Now we can see our bleed parameters. Now all we have to do, once we have the bleeds there, is just extend the images, extend the frames, all right, to that bleed point, so that this way we have our bleeds in place. We just extend them out, all right? We come over here, we extend them out. Grab this one, extend it out. Grab this one, not the frame, not the text frame, but the actual color frame. Extend it out. Extend this out here, and extend this out here, and then extend this out here. All right? We're not moving these. We're just extending them to incorporate the bleed. Extend this down. Extend this out. Okay? And then we're going to extend here. Okay? So now I'm going to look over this whole this whole spread right here, and it looks like I've got all of the images and objects needed to extend out to the bleed, so that when it trims, all right, we don't have any unsightly white marks. Now also, this image here on the inside, there's some black behind it, which tells me that we need to open this up. We're not going to open up the frame. The frame is fine. We're going to open up the content, the image within the frame. So we're going to grab it, put our finger on the shift key, extend it out, so that at least now that unsightly black area is no longer there. So the image now will fill the frame proportionally. Okay, so we come over here. We have our same issue with the bleeds. Pull this down. Pull this out. And this one, not only are we going to pull it down, but we're going to change the color. So we're going to change, because it has to be brown, like this brown frame right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to sample that brown and change that brown to that color. All right, let me see. What I want to do is take, actually I don't have to sample, I can just come here. All right, I'll go over to the swatch panel, all right, and use that brown. There's that brown. All right, now we're gonna again move this over here so you can see. I'm gonna grab these objects, just pull them down so that they extend. Pull them down. The image that's behind it, pull it down so that it extends to the bleed area. Pull it out. We're going to pull it out to the side. All right. And then we're going to grab the frame. All right, that's there. We're going to pull it out. Okay, so we have the frame pulled out. All right, we're going to come up. We're going to grab this image and we're going to pull it up. And we're going to pull this frame up. All right, and then we're going to grab this frame and pull it up. And pull this one up and out to the side, like so. All right, and then we're going to take this image and pull it up. So that, again, everything now is going to start to bleed off the page. And then lastly, we're going to take this, the C&R Survey logo, and it's going to have the same color value as the background color. And as you can see, the background color is 3% of that brown. We just select that, and we make that, we make the actual fill, all right, of this imagery. We're going to make it a 3% tint of the brown. All right, so we come here, and as you can see, there it is right there. All right, so now lastly, we have to take this frame right here and then pull it out so that it's bleeding. So we have that. All right, so now what we're going to do is, we see here we have that brown is in the RGB color space. So now we're going to double click on that, come here, change it from RGB to CMYK. We'll say OK. So now we have this. Everything is bleeding off. Everything is the colors that we need it to be. So now we're going to come over here to File. We go over here to Package. And now you can see that there's an issue here, because this whole area needs to be clean. So we see there's an issue here. It says that 8 images are in the RGB color space. We don't package it. We have to address that. So the next up, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the folder that has our images in them. All right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab all of those images except the EPS files. So we can get all the JPEGs, and we're going to open them up in Photoshop. And as you can see, as they pop up, they're all popping up with an RGB color space. All right. So now it just so happens that I have this thing rigged in such a way where we can convert them very easily. But what you can do is in Photoshop, you have your image, you go up to Image Mode, CMYK, you say OK, and it changes. All right, we're going to save it and close it. Now I happen to have this as an automated function in Photoshop, so I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to go down to Actions. I click on Actions, and then I'm going to have something here that says I have quite a few. Let me cancel this. Let's see, CMYK to RGB, RGB to CMYK. Here's this. I'll say I went Start. All right, come here. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it, and play it, and play it, and play it. And what it's doing is it's taking all these in Photoshop, it's taking all these images and automatically converting them. Now that's going to be a lesson for another day. And actually that's going to be a lesson that you will learn in your Photoshop classes, hopefully. But that's how you can set up an automatic function where it'll automatically automate that capability, and it'll make those updates. And now what's going to happen is, you know, we're going to see these little yellow diamonds here that says these images have been updated. So we go to our links panel. All right, we're going to click them all, and we're going to say relink. And what's going to happen is it's going to run through the whole document, relink them. You shouldn't see anything change or shift. All it did was just update the imagery so that it is now in the CMYK color space. So when we come down to File and Package, you're going to see this is all clean. Everything has been updated. The fonts are in place. Now we're ready to package. I'm going to say cancel. But that's what it's all about. All right. This is really a pretty simple procedure. But in order to know how to do it and do it properly, you've got to understand what you're doing and why. So hopefully this will be helpful. Many of you guys are challenged in this area, but some of you guys get it. So I just wanted to show you this little power tip so that you guys will have a better understanding as to how to prep your files in Photoshop. I'm sorry, in InDesign. All right,